programme features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's a very hot afternoon in South Africa. Even the birds are hiding in the shade, and this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon everybody, and welcome to this your Monday afternoon safari, brought to you from the autumnal landscapes of the Greater Kruger National Park, where the verdant greenery of the summer is turning to the gold of the autumn. It is 26 degrees Celsius, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. My name is James Henry, and as always I will be talking to you from the environs of the Great Tent. You, of course, the most important part of what we do, and so we'd like to hear from you. Hashtag Safari Live is the best way for you to get hold of us, and that is on Twitter. Today we will be looking at various things under the microscope. As always, we'll be looking at things from the air in the drone, and hopefully a couple of creatures will be knocking around here somewhere. Now, Taylor is knocking about here somewhere, looking probably for leopards, and let's go and find out how that particular operation is proceeding.
Good afternoon everybody, and of course welcome to another live sunset safari. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is David. I'm very disappointed this afternoon. No one told me I still had my sunglasses on my head. Cursed. I completely forgot about them. I'm very naughty there. But anyways, that's okay. Now, for those of you who have just joined us, welcome again. We're on a live safari, so if you have any questions for myself, James, or Byron, and possibly Brent a little bit later, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and that is the way you can, of course, get hold of us. We are searching for all sorts of wonderful things this afternoon. We started off with a very miserable, rainy morning, but that has, of course, changed. The sky is now blue, the clouds are less. The wind is still a bit here, but I'm hoping that because of the temperature it's warmed up so nicely, maybe we'll get some elephant action this afternoon. But before we even do that, that is a huge kudu bull. There's 2 huge kudu bulls. That one heard me. Yes, I'm complimenting you. But let me go back to this one, because I think we can see him the best. Oh, wow. Isn't he gorgeous? He is stunning. Now, we're very lucky at the moment with seeing all the kudu around and looking fit and healthy. We actually have seen kudu almost every single game drive now, and I'm definitely not going to complain. And that's what I love about nature, and I talk about this often, how it comes in waves. Sometimes you won't see kudu bulls for weeks or months, and then now at this time of the year we start to see them again as they sought after some females in hope to mate with them. A little bit early, but they will start soon. But it is beautiful, and there's not just one here, and this is the other thing, is that you, instead of just seeing one big kudu bull, you'll see 3 or 4 tailing after a breeding herd. And I'm going to go forward so I can show you another one, because he looked even bigger. But maybe that's just because I want him to be bigger. But let's have a look. He's just hiding under these shrubs, so I think I'm going to try and go a little bit forward, and then we'll look back at him. Or if there's a gap. It's hard. I think we're going to have to do this gap here. Yes, that's perfect. We can just see his ears and his horns this afternoon. He's hiding behind a bush willow, which is making for great coverage. One of the amazing things with these kudu is, of course, they love to live in the thicket. Yesterday we were discussing about their hearing and their feeding habits. But of course the males have got these massive sets of horns. And this was one of the first things I thought to myself. I think it's one of the first questions I ever asked myself when I first started guiding was, how on earth do those kudu move through the bush with those big horns? And of course you can see him struggling about over there. But it's quite amazing, the design of those horns. All he has to do is point his nose towards the sky. Those horns then lay flat on his back, which allow him to, of course, move through the beautiful bushes. Now George, hello to you. First question of the afternoon. It's great to hear from you, George. You're wondering, what are those antlers made of? So, George, those actually aren't antlers. Those are horns. Antelope in South Africa don't shed them annually like deer do. They have got one set for their entire life. So it's made of keratin. It's bone, and then, of course, a keratin coating. Let's see if we can get another view of it. And what happens with kudu? It's been particularly kudu because of their spiral-shaped horns, but when their males do start fighting quite seriously, sometimes those horns can twist and lock, and they'll end up killing one another. Like that, firstly because they can't go anywhere. Just going to try and see, because there's one there, and this one is going to move out into the open now. And they'll actually... one might survive, but if he's lucky enough to get the other one's horns loose, otherwise they both end up dying. But it's very, very sad to see such beautiful antelope like this end up in a tangle, but it is quite common. Now, I don't know where the other boy is going. They're not really showing too much animosity between each other. They seem to be giving each other space and just moving around. I can't see the other bull now. I think he must be hiding behind some of these trees. It's a little bit thick out here. Let's go forward. Check if there's no more kudu on the left. No kudu on the left. Oh my goodness, they're all tucked away. Just want to show you their camouflage. That's where the females are. Just straight through there, and if you look very carefully, there's actually a tiny little calf just to the right. Here we go. Look at that as we go in. How incredible is that? I bet you've only just spotted them. Look how tiny it is. And that's what Mom's going to do, because these calves won't be very old. They've only just started to give birth in the last month or so. And it's important while they are young and vulnerable like this that Mom keeps them out of sight, out of mind. So tucked away under the thicket is a good spot. Now, Zane, you've said that kudus are your favorite. They are. They're one of the most striking antelope out in the bush, with all of their beautiful markings. And then, of course, their big ears definitely stand out, as well as their white moustaches are one of the things that catch my eyes. But this little kudu most certainly has not grown into its ears. I think they get their big ears, and then the rest of their body, as the years go on, and start to sort of become relative in size. But standing very, very still, not moving at all, doing the very basic freeze sort of anti-predatory behavior, and probably been told by Mom as well to just sit tight and wait underneath that shrub and all that long grass. But very, very cool. It's amazing. Look how we go out there. Gone. I can't even see them anymore. That's unbelievable. And that's what camouflage is supposed to do. Is it's supposed to hide all the animals away. Well, the kudu camouflage does a very good job. We're going to go across now to James, who is playing with his favorite non-human friend.
Well, I don't think calling Byron non-human is necessarily fair, but Byron is now currently live and doesn't know about it. There's no communications. He's driving the Rover down towards the water. So if we could cut perhaps to the Rover feed, that would be great. There we go. And so what he's doing is, unfortunately, his vehicle is broken at the moment. And so he's currently driving the Rover and not doing a very good job of it at all. I'm outside the tent doing my level best to find a few things, and Byron still seems to have no idea that he's alive, which I think is rather amusing. There we go. He may well break Ronald the Rover before the day is out. And you can see a lot of grass there. And Byron thinks this is very funny. He's laughing, he's cackling away, giggling quite heartily. I'm going to try and walk around the front of him. This is a little bit like stalking an elephant. He doesn't know he's live, of course, and he seems to have broken the Rover now. And let's just move around the side here, see if he knows that he's live. In these positions, what you need to do is test for the wind, of course. Byron, don't say any F words, because you've been live for the last 5 minutes or so.
Oh,
Everyone's been, oh, you knew. That's very unfortunate. How did you know?
I heard James. He's not the quietest individual around, and my ears are very, very sharp. As you can see...
Talk into here, Byron.
As you can see...
Yes?
I'm pretending to be you, James.
Yes.
I'm driving the Rover.
I see. And what have you found?
Grass.
Grass. And I'm going to pretend to be you. Can you identify the grass there?
No, James, I cannot.
That's a pity. You should have studied harder.
I know, but my teacher was terrible.
This is dreadful. Okay, Byron, by the way, is in the tent, as I said, because he broke Jigger before he'd even got out, and so unfortunately he is now having to drive the Rover in order to while they fix it.
I think I am in the jungles of the Congo.
Yes.
With the Rover.
Have you not managed to find the water yet? You're not moving forward. You look like you're in the movie Ants.
Yes. I'm moving forward slowly. The Rover.
There we go. Now, you see, I cannot get the tech department to put this thing next to the water, unfortunately. They insist on placing it in amongst the grasses there. You're nearly there. It looks to me like you've almost made it through. Yeah, and the relief you will feel when you break through those bushes will be really fairly insurmountable.
Pardon?
That may have been the wrong word to use. Are you through yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Almost.
Well, I tell you what, why don't you put that under the microscope and see if you can find yourself a thrip. Can you find a thrip, Byron?
I'm looking.
It needs to be under the microscope. You can't do it with your eyes. They're very small.
Okay. Stop shouting at me, Joe.
I'm sorry, Byron. It's just that sometimes I feel you don't listen to me.
I do listen to you. Oh. I have not found one. But my focus is so much.
We're on blurry safaris.
No, we're not.
Oh dear. Back to Byron. You know that you've been scolded silently by the final control when suddenly the microscope feed clicks back to your face because you're so blurry.
Well, James, you gave me something sans.
Apparently this plant is sans thrip. Could you focus on something, please? All I can see is blurry safaris.
Yeah, hairy thrips.
There are no thrips in there.
I told you.
Thrip looks like an earwig, but isn't one. There we are. We're now on the microscope feed. See if you can spot an aphid. We must just apologise slightly for that.
Over
What?
there, there's
Where?
something moving.
Over there does not help people sitting in the United States of America. There is not going to be any help at all.
Hang on, we'll get it. There is something moving to the right-hand side of the...
That's very good. That is an aphid, I think.
Yes.
Well spotted, Byron.
That's it.
Now, word on the bush telegraph is that Jigger is now repaired, and that it would be best for you to leave the tent immediately at your earliest convenience and go and drive away on Jigger.
I'm off. I am off, James.
Goodbye, Byron. We're going to head across to Taylor now. He's knocking about here in the bush. I don't know what she's finding, but maybe it's something cool, maybe it's just nothing.
I would go with something cool. We've arrived at Treehouse Dam. We're in the second time in a row on the afternoon safari. We've managed to find some animals here. This time it's not a kudu like it was yesterday, but it is in the form of 3 buffalo bulls cooling themselves down on a hot afternoon. And I can tell you right now, David and I are sitting here, and I'm sure all the ladies in final control and James, Byron won't know what we have, but I'm sure we're all a little bit jealous, aren't you? I'd love to be spending my Monday afternoon just lounging about in the pool. Instead, I've got the second best job in the world. Other than lounging around the pool, I just get to come and show you all these animals that are having a great time, which is not too bad either, I suppose. But these buffalo are looking healthy again, just like the kudu. I think we're going to do Animal Appreciation Day, and just to show you how sort of strong the animals can really be. Even the oxpeckers are looking good. They must be having lots and lots of ticks at the moment. That's all we've been seeing. We've actually been seeing quite a few oxpeckers sitting on the animals. The other day I counted 15 oxpeckers on one impala. That must have been an interesting experience. Maybe it was in a trance-like state as it had them all grooming. However, this is one of my favorite things to see, and I've told you all this many times, is the way that the oxpeckers will actually dangle off of a buffalo and use them to sip water. So hopefully we're going to get one of them that are going to do something along those lines, maybe dangle off the buffalo's nostril and do a handstand and take a sip of water, but not for now. At the moment, those two are just relaxing, cleaning themselves, and I think that buffalo is using this dam as now a toilet, a potty. That's why I would not drink the water from the dams, just because of that. We'll leave that up to Steph, of course. Those two, they're just relaxing in the nice shade, and I suspect as the sun gets a little bit lower and it changes angles, there's not going to be very much shade there, and I'm sure that they will move around. But that's not all that was trying to keep cool. There's also a little blacksmith lapwing that at one point I think it thought it was a duck, because it was in the water up to its belly, which is actually quite unusual. We normally see them wading through the water, of course, but you can still see majority of their legs, but this one went right in. So it just shows you how hot it is, and it's already had a little bath, cooled itself down, feeling fresh. Now just grooming or preening all of its feathers. This is really nice. We seem to start our safaris off with loads of animals, which is really nice. Maybe we're going to have a great day. Another beautiful reflection. But it's just amazing what water can do and how it attracts animals, and that's something, of course, to look forward to as we head into the drier months now, coming into winter, is that hopefully this water is going to stay around, because that is most certainly going to attract the animals, and it will make it a lot easier for us to try and find them. Where there is water and where there is no food, animals will have to make the decision. And we see that quite often. They'll walk kilometers and kilometers to find water every single day, and especially if you're something like a buffalo, if you're an elephant, impala, waterbuck, zebra, you need to drink water every single day. Oh, well, they're done now. Now, you can see these boys as they stand up. You can really see their size, especially as they come out of the water. They're not small. Those two, well, the one that was looking at us looks like it's slightly... Are you older or are you younger? No, doesn't got very sharp tips on the end. Ooh, getting a bit excited. And in case you're wondering, how large does one male buffalo weigh? Well, I think these boys at the moment are pushing just under a ton, but I would say anywhere between 800 and 950 kilograms, somewhere around there. I think there's some exceptional boys, and I'm sure it also depends on how much your horns weigh. You've seen how they drop their heads down to the ground. Those horns are not very light. But that's it. They've probably been resting here for most of the day, and now they'll get up and do some grazing for the rest of the evening. There we go. That's another reason. That's not an oxpecker doing a bomb drop into the water either. That's what you think it is. I don't know how Steph does it. He's exceptionally brave when it comes to drinking the water in the dams and in mud wallows. It's not just the buffalo that are responsible for sort of making the water putrid. Rhinos do it too. Elephants are, well, core team players. And I'm sure warthogs do exactly the same thing too. Yes, I'm talking about you. He looks a little bit disgusted, doesn't he? Look at all the flies. See all the flies moving on his body as he walks through the water? They're not too keen on actually being drowned in it. Now, Janet, you were wondering if buffalo are friendly enough to share a watering hole with hippo. Yes, to an extent. I think it must be quite intimidating for the hippopotamus that occupy the watering holes sort of, I'd say, 70% more than what a buffalo would, in the sense that that's where they rest during the days too. Now, when you are a hippo, and there's a couple of you in a dam, and you have a herd of 200 approach a watering hole, you can imagine they get a bit frightened. And I've definitely seen hippos splash around, open their mouths, and show their frustrations at the buffalo, because they just come charging in like they own the place, and like it's their dam. And I don't blame them, strength in numbers, of course. So the hippo do get a bit agitated. If the dam is big enough, normally they're okay. They'll just go to the middle, and then they're not too bothered. The same thing goes when elephants come down and visit watering holes. But otherwise, if it was a small drying up pan, like what we did see towards the end of the drought that we had over the past 3 years, they know. The hippos will defend that small amount of water, and they will chase things off. I've seen elephants chasing animals away from watering holes so that they can have it to themselves. But that's what the drought does to you, of course. is that it makes you desperate, it makes you cranky, you're hungry, you're thirsty, you're all of these things, so you take your frustrations out on everybody else. But it's good. The bush is looking lovely at the moment, and that little sprinkle of rain that we had is fantastic. It would have just topped the levels of water up. The ground has absorbed every drop of it, so the roots of the plants will start not the roots, but the tops of the plants will start greening up. Right, and before I get myself into any more trouble and stumble on my words, Byron is about. He's finished playing with Ronald. Let's go across to him.
Hello everyone, my name is Byron, and on camera with me is Sebastian this afternoon. So we managed to sort out our sound issues, but I had a little bit of fun trying to play with the Rover. James allowed me into the tent briefly. Now I'm going to check the northern boundary and towards Buffelshoek Dam just to see if we don't have any signs of those wild dogs that we heard cross into our area, and we saw tracks of them, but we unfortunately couldn't find them. But maybe they stick their heads out a little bit later. So I'm going to head into that area, keep a lookout, and we'll see what we can find. It started to warm up a bit today, so maybe we also have luck around the water holes. I'm curious to go and see what has happened at Buffelshoek Dam with those 2 hippo that we saw. Well, there were 5 in there this morning, but there were 2 definite males having a bit of a standoff. So I'm curious to see if there was any activity, if they did fight, or if there was a standoff. But we'll see what else we can find. Chick, you asked, is there any chances of leopard today? Well, there's always a chance of leopard. It's just not always a guarantee. It's difficult, but we will try our best. Always looking for fresh signs of leopards, or any cats, any predators. So we'll see. Maybe we have some luck a little bit later with either the young leopards, Hosanna or Chile. Perhaps they are around. You never know. One of the other females in the area could pop up. I'm thinking though, with that bit of rain that we had last night or early this morning, there is a possibility that some of those cats, those big cats, made it kill. And the reason I say that is because they do enjoy hunting a lot in the evening when it is raining, or in those rainy conditions, because it masks their scent. They're able to stalk up a lot closer to their prey. So they are ideal conditions for animals to stalk and hunt. And often, many times, I've found leopards and lions with kills after rainstorms. But we saw, and one thing that I find fascinating is we saw last week for 3 days the young male leopard Hosanna had a kill just outside of camp, not very far from camp. But I think we only found him the day after he made the kill, and because Impala alarm called at him when he was walking to the dam to go and drink. And I think you saw him on the dam cam. So it just shows you that if they've got a kill in a thick area, it's going to be very difficult to find a leopard, because long grass will make it almost impossible to spot them. Is taken to reading again. This time it's a reptile book.
Reading is very important, everybody. I find that reading is a very relaxing thing to do, and of course there are not many of you that are sitting sort of halfway through your work days. I find myself here with your feet up, surrounded by the wilderness, with a book to read. Now the reason I'm reading this... Oh no, that's really irritating. The reason I'm reading this book, of course, is not just because I was wanting to read the book, but because there was a skink that was here, but it has been replaced, Fergus, with a wasp. Can you see the wasp? It is a starling blue wasp, and I wonder if it isn't perhaps bringing some caterpillars to put inside those very old impala horns. Look at that, that's fantastic. Good. Well, skink, you can go and do whatever it is that you were doing. We're going to watch Mrs. Waspy. Now, I suspect she's probably carrying either a little bit of mud, maybe a small caterpillar, and she's gone inside there, and with any luck will come out and sting Fergus on the ear, which will result in much comedy. Not so, Fergus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here she comes.
Bit of slapstick.
Hello. What is your name? Huh? You don't have a name. Wilmina. Oh, Wilmina the Wasp. Wilmina, that's not a very attractive name, but it'll do. You are a wasp after all. Okay, she's gone. Now let's see if we can't find the skink. Yes, there. No, that's not him. I think he was such a really beautiful example of a variable skink. Anyway, I'm going to keep trying to find him. I know this is a slightly compromising position, so I'm going to get out of it, and while I do that, Byron is going to show you a bird that goes bzz, 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 bzz.
How does it go, James? Now, this is a Rattling Cisticola, and it's wonderful to see it just sitting out in the open. This looks like a young one, though. They don't often sit for very long, and they do chirp. They do make a lot of noise. It sounds like a little young one. Now, the Rattling Cisticola has been known as the black mamba of the bird family. Now, I'll tell you why. It's because the Rattling Cisticola, when it opens its mouth, when it is chirping and making a loud noise, is actually pitch black inside. And I've heard some people refer to it as the black mamba of the birds because of that very pitch black mouth that, just like a black mamba has, a very black mouth on the inside. And they do chirp and they do alarm call at any predators. Often if you're following leopards or lions walking and they're rattling cisticolas around, you'll hear them calling constantly. Now that's just such a lovely view of it, because often, like I say, I don't think I've ever seen a rattling cisticola sitting around for this length of time. Now, it is difficult at times to identify some of these small brown birds. But like I said, this does look like a young one. But definitely a Rattling Cisticola, beautiful little bird. Now they'll catch mostly insects. Any insects, and there it goes. Off it goes. Lovely. Nice to see the little Rattling Cisticola. So relaxed. So any insects, that's what they will feed on. Now, I'm going to go through a bit of a dip. I might have jumpy signal for a minute or two. I'll try to get through quickly. Well, let's go back to James while I get through this area.
She's back, everybody, and I'm just trying to see what she's carrying. She's being very confiding. She's obviously got used to us. And what she's doing, for those of you who don't know much about wasps, which is most of us, she's creating herself a nest for little ones, which will eventually be born as things that look like, I guess, little worms. And she'll supply them, I don't know exactly what species she is, either with very small spiders or probably with caterpillars. And she'll push them into the cells, the ready-made cells that there are in the skull. And then she'll probably seal the little cavities with mud, having laid her eggs either on or inside the caterpillars, which will be paralyzed. I have very seldom had a wasp sighting like this. They normally fly away much too quickly, and they don't have that. You don't sort of get a chance to appreciate the spectacular starling blue colours that they are. And of course, if you try and catch that, it will result in a very serious amount of pain. She will definitely sting with her modified ovipositor. And wasps, of course, unlike bees, are able to sting repeatedly because they don't lose half their insides every time they sting you. They inject you with a little bit of poison. I think this is fantastic. I'm going to try and identify what species of wasp she is. I'm not quite sure at this stage. Let's just see her come out again. See what she does there. And while we wait for her to do that, I think it's beholden on me to tell you that we found no further tracks this morning. I seem to have lost the thread of that story this morning. No further tracks of the leopards, except to say that we think Horsana went off towards Bifflestock Dam yesterday and then back down south towards Twin Dams. So maybe he's around there somewhere. I know Byron and Taylor are around that area. Isn't that wonderful? I think she'll go off again and either pick up a caterpillar or pick up some mud. And you can actually see the tracks of these animals. You can see them if you go down to a muddy waterhole like Twin Dams or even smaller pans, much easier. Oh, quickly, let's go across to the dam cam. There's the dam cam. And this water monitor is now approaching Ronald. This is fantastic. She's going to appear from the right-hand side of Ronald's feed. Oh, Ronald. Ronald. There's something coming from your right-hand side. Oh. Let's quickly go back to the dam cam. Oh. Look at the tongue going out. Did you see the tongue licking? Oh, didn't like that. Didn't like Connor's. Oh, quickly back to Ronald. There it is, swimming away. Wonderful. Didn't like Connor's aftershave, I don't think. That was spectacular. How cool was that? Now, what we need to do for our TV shows coming up this week is figure out what would attract the water monitor to come and lie in front of Ronald. Perhaps a small plate of Amanda's finest pork ribs. I think maybe we'll do that. We'll deprive Byron or Connor of their pork ribs the next time they come, and we'll put them in on a plate, well, maybe just on the ground, for that wonderful water monitor. Well, that was very nice. Let's see at some stage if he comes back. That would be very cool indeed. Oh dear. Kirsten, could you send Connor down there, this time with strict instructions that this rover is not to break down again? Let's go back to our little wasp. Thank you very much, Fergus. He caught one of the little beans that I found. Now, she's still there. What I was saying is, basically, in the mud, like we've just been looking at, you can find the tracks of a wasp like this. There she is. Going back off a bit. She's going to sting us. Just wait a second. Here she comes. Here she comes. There. Oh. And she's picking up mud or something from somewhere. And how something with no brain is able to negotiate her, well, navigate her way back to a place like this from wherever she goes is a great mystery. Now, Taylor has managed to find some primates, and I think they're probably slightly more entertaining than an empty and very old impala skull.
Yes, we've got, well, I don't know if I'd call these one of my favorite animals of the bush, but we've got some vervet monkeys, and they are very far away, and I've parked very far away from them. Otherwise, they're going to run away from us. As most of you know, they are quite scared of people, but it's an entire troop of them. There must have been about 15. There's big ones, there's small ones, like that little grey one running there, and then there's some even tinier ones that are still black in colour. They haven't even got their grey hair just yet, so hopefully we'll see a few of them. And I think it's a nice spot to walk along this road because Cheetah Cutline is littered with marula trees, which means that there will be lots of marula nuts left on the ground if the squirrels hadn't gotten to them yet. So that would provide a nice, nutritious snack. And, of course, that prevents them from coming and raiding camps. Let's see if we can get a bit closer. They've just gone around the corner now. I suspect what is going to happen is as we start to move towards them, is that they're just going to continue running away from us. There's a couple of them. Maybe they go up into a marula tree, which would be quite nice. That's what they will do, of course, when they feel a bit nervous. Oh, wow. What we're going to do now is we're going to go across to Byron. I didn't hear what Kerr said he's got, but let's go take a look.
I've got the hippo, but now I'm just trying to count how many there are here, because this morning we had 5, and there were definitely 2 males challenging one another a little bit, or there was snorting and grunting. So let's just have a look. I can only see 3 now. I think I saw 4, but I don't know if the other one moved off. That would be very interesting and unusual. Okay, there's 4. All right. Let's see if we get another head popping up. Look at that hammerkop flying around. It's going to land on the hippo. Look. Oh, look at that. Oh, that is awesome. That's for some reason the hammerkop feels like it wants to land on the hippo and sit on the hippos. That's very interesting. Now the hammerkop gets its name because the head is shaped like a hammer. So hammerkop means hammerhead. There's still just 4 hippo. I'm still looking. Now, a little tip for you is if you ever on a bush walk or walking in an area or approaching a dam, always sit for about 10 minutes or so just watching the water, because you'll then, before you go close to it, because you'll see if there's possibly a hippo in it. You do need to be careful. Obviously, crocodiles can stay under and well hidden for a lot longer, so always be careful of crocodiles. But if you want to know if there's a hippo around, just always sit for about 10 minutes or so and watch, because they will have to come up for air, and you will see them then. I don't know, it just looks like 4 of them now. Alright, well, I'm going to just sit here a few more minutes and then probably move on, but let's head back to Monkey and Taylor.
I'm confused. Are you calling me a monkey, Byron? Because that's what I heard. Hey, David. I think he was calling me a monkey. It's not far from the truth. Sometimes I can behave like one, but this one is doing a very good job at showing us how it can balance very well on the tops of the trees, and it has a very long tail. And the rest of the troop has now moved on. I can't see where the rest of the monkeys have gone. There were a couple of them that were in this tree, but this marula does have quite a few leaves, and I think that they're just sort of sitting out of view. There was a few little ones as well, so I keep just scanning the tree to see if they're moved anywhere. But David's doing a fantastic job at following this monkey. Now, I couldn't see if it was a male. It didn't look like it, just from the quick glimpse that we did get. I wonder if it isn't mom with a little one. Should we see if we can get a better view, David? I think so. Let me go around the corner very quickly. And then I think we might start to spot a couple of more vervet monkeys, which are just up ahead. They're not on the road anymore, though, because they've spotted us. So they've just disappeared just off into the long grass, which I think they'll feel a lot more comfortable in. Where are you? My goodness, it's amazing how even something like a vervet monkey can hide in the tops of the trees. Oh, there it is. It's sneaky, David. It's actually moved, and it's just poking its head out. Not the branches on the left, but if you go to the middle of the tree, there's that open branch. I go in straight there, and it's sort of in the, there we go, top right corner. If you go, there we go. You should see something go down a little bit into the fork. There it is. Look, it's hiding from us. It's literally hiding behind that branch. You can just see a very small amount of it, its little feet and some of the grey fur. And then every now and then you'll see its beautiful dark face peering through the bark. And they do actually blend in quite well with the... Look at him. Cheeky little one, that. So they do blend in very well too. We can see you. Now, George, you're wondering what fruits do they eat? They'll eat any fruits that they can get their little paws on. And, of course, being in a marula tree, not at this time of the year, though, unfortunately, they're a bit late. The fruit has already been dropped to the ground and everything has eaten it. So they'll eat marula fruits. It looked like it was actually feeding on the bark at the moment. They will feed on jackleberries, guarri bush fruits, from the num-nums. Any fruits that we get out here, they will collect them and eat them. But at this time of the year, they'll maybe start eating sap, the gum from trees. They like to do that, like bush babies. They will pick flowers if there are any flowers around. They will also eat the new leaves and new shoots of grass. And then, of course, if there are any nuts left, you're so sweet, aren't you? If there are any nuts left inside the marulas, the ones, the leftovers from after the elephants and the rest of the animals have eaten the flesh off, they might try and pick those out too. But squirrels have got specially designed teeth and rodents that allow them to do that. I think it would be a bit of a struggle for a little monkey to do that. But isn't that perfect how it thinks that we can't see it? The way that it is hiding over there. Very, very sneaky little baboon. But we're going to move away from this beautiful tall marula tree with this vervet monkey, and we're going to go across to the big wide open plains in Kenya.
Welcome to this beautiful evening here in the Masai Mara in Kenya. My name is Brent Smith. I have Eggsy on camera and I have Doug making sure I don't get lost. But so we've got something a little bit special, something we don't see too often in the Sabi Sands, but they do occur, and one of my favorite little critters, and we have a business of banded mongoose. And they're all around that termitaria at the moment. And as you can see, hopefully, there's a head popping up at top. There we go. Hello, little ones. Now, of course, as a lot of our long-time viewers will know, I was lucky enough to have a couple of them as pets while growing up. And though they look like they would be really cute and wonderful to have as a pet, if you're not used to mongoose, they can be quite strange. So they're very, very social animal, and the social interactions are very, very important. And so one of the ways they say that you're part of the family and that I love you is to scent mark you with their anal gland. And of course, when you've got people coming into your house and suddenly a mongoose scent marks with its anal gland all over their foot, they tend to scream, jump up and down, which generally means the mongoose then gets excited and bites them. But much better to have them out in the wild where they belong. And behind them, as you can probably see, Sander's nodding, is a nice mixed herd of Thompson's gazelle and impala, and just beyond them is the Mara River. Now, we've been out since you saw us this morning. We haven't returned to camp. We've spent the whole day on an adventure and just testing areas and getting to know everything, and we were very, very lucky today, weren't we, Zander? Too lucky. Yes, we found a female cheetah. Her name is Mlima. She is absolutely gorgeous. It looks like she's just had cubs very recently as well, and we managed to see her hunt and kill a Thompson's gazelle. And hopefully we will be going back to that area in the next couple of weeks, and once we get all the technological stuff sorted. But very exciting. She is beautiful. Now, I did see some little carnivores up ahead, so let's go see if we can catch up with them. Remember, hashtag Safari Live if you'd like to get hold of us. Lady Starfire is wondering, how big are the banded mongoose? Oh, a lot bigger than a dwarf mongoose, probably about 5 or 6 times the size of a dwarf mongoose. They probably weigh about 500 or 600 grams, so probably about that big. A bit bigger than a Yorkshire Terrier. There we go. Oh, disappearing into the long grass. Just let me know if you get a view, Eggs. And just see ears. Here we go. Oh, there's one closer. You see the one closer? Good. Here we go. Black-backed jackal. Now, we have been seeing quite a few of them. Oh, there we go. Off they go. Isn't that gorgeous? So this pair is always around here, so we can definitely hope that they're going to have a litter at some point, and we'll have wonderful little jackal pups to spend some time with. Now this is also the area where we've seen Grant's gazelle. Now hopefully they'll be around. Now I did a bit more research on Grant's gazelle, because I realized, apart from them being my favorite gazelle, although I do like the Tommies as well, is that I didn't quite know where they got their name. So I knew where Tommies got their name from, all the jackals out in the open. How's that looking? There we go. Bit forward. So when they're moving with the pole, I'll go forward more. How's that? There we go. Off they go. Wonderful little creatures. Now, Octogirl is wondering if the drought affected behind the pole again. Sorry, guys. I can't go back. There's a car. It'd be quite bad if I went back. Well, they're going into the long grass now. Oh, there we go, maybe. How's that? Come forward. Still behind the pole. Way forward, okay. We're going way forward. Hold on. Good. There we go. Yep. The call from eggs. Oh, I'm causing a traffic jam. Hang on. Just let the car go past us. So now, of course, they have disappeared into the... Hi. Good, thanks. We're actually on a live safari. So this is being broadcast live. So yeah, you can find us by just Google or go into YouTube and use type in Safari Live. Yeah, so it's cutting between here and South Africa. So we've got two different crews working in different areas. Okay, so we're going to say goodbye. We're going to see what else we can find, and while we do that, let's go across to James back in South Africa.
Having the most gorgeous sighting here of a speckled footman moth. Now, I know it's not quite the vista of the Masai Mara, fit with Thomson's gazelles and impala and banded mongoose, but this creature is putting on a show the likes of which I have yet to see from a moth. This might be the greatest moth performance in the history of natural history filmmaking. I'm of course being very hyperbolic at the moment, but it is very pretty. And it's been choosing this plant to come and eat again and again. And this is the plant that we called the knotweed the other day. Look at that, you must be getting a great picture of it there. And it has been going from little sort of tuft of knotweed to little tuft of knotweed, and we've been sat here following it and just having the most peaceful, wonderful time. As this gorgeously coloured black and orange and white moth, diurnal moth obviously, has travelled from flower to flower. There we go, it's on another one now. Isn't it special? And this one's been through the wars a little bit. You can see maybe that it's been, well, it's had a bit of trouble. Its wings are a little bit beaten up. It's obviously flown quite substantial distances in some fairly heavy winds. And here it has found Elysium. It has found Utopia. It has found a place where there is just an endless supply of knotweed for it to slake its thirst on. It's thrusting its little proboscis down into the nectaries of the flowers there. And Fergus and I are both moving like stealthy cats. Of course, Fergus not much younger than I am, so, you know, we'll have to forgive the stealth with which we're able to move at this stage of our lives. But we're doing okay. And thank you all for your comments. Of course, yes, it is very pretty. And if you're wondering how anyone is commenting on a live show that this is pretty, hashtag Safari Live is how you do that on Twitter. Now, Umka, you ask a very good question about whether or not its colours are aposematic. In other words, are they an indication of some kind of toxin? I don't think so, not as far as I'm aware. Now, well, that's not true. Orange coloration is a warning to predators or to prey. To predators, orange coloration is a warning to predators. But whether or not the animal is poisonous or not is difficult to tell. Many animals, of course, will mimic poisonous animals. So this one might not be poisonous at all, but it might be using those orange and black colours in order to avoid being eaten. And so it doesn't have to go through the very expensive physiological process of producing poisons in the body. And also, because it's expensive to produce the poisons, it's expensive to digest food that is poisonous, and it has to do that in order to make poisons. And so some of them just produce the colours, and they con potential predators into thinking that they are poisonous. Now, the diadem, the female diadem butterfly, common diadem, is the most obvious example of that. Some of the acria species are not toxic, and yet they are orange and black. And perhaps this speckled footman is not in fact toxic. I don't know. I don't know if the knotweed is poisonous or not. Of course, normally these animals will pick up their toxins as larvae. It's back again. So they don't pick, as the caterpillars will feed on some different food source. So although I could probably tell you whether the knotweed is poisonous or not, I don't think that would help us with whether or not the speckled footman is toxic. That was fantastic. That was a really very special sighting. Is it gone now, Ferg? I think it's disappeared. Good. Well, I even got a picture with my own camera. That was very illegal, of course. We're not allowed to do that. Let's just get up and see what else we can see. Here's the plant. Here's the knotweed. And there's lots of it around, so I'm not sad to pick it there. Sorry, Fergus. Fergus is now getting himself tangled in amongst the guy ropes. But that's the knotweed, and it's got a lovely little purple flower there. That is obviously giving off some kind of ultraviolet that the speckled footman has been seeing. And that's what's been attracting it, I think, because I don't think it smells at all. Let me smell it quickly. No, has no scent at all. Well, we'll pop that under the microscope again and see what it looks like. Oh! Goodness gracious. Just takes a little while to loosen up these days, you know. There we go, we're okay. I see Connor Teagues has still managed to maintain the Rover in a state of brokenness at the moment. We'll have to have a word with him. Maybe the Rover's just been devoured by that rather spectacular monitor lizard. Now let's see if we can perhaps see some thrips. And Byron was very upset that I gave him a plant sans thrips. There we are. Now, you can see the little purple flower there, and there is something living in it. You can just see its tail sticking out every so often. So what we'll try and do is just shift it very slightly. No, that's going to shift it the wrong way. We want to do... Oh, look, it's coming out. Look, it's an ant. You can see its little eyes. Come on, out you come. Look at that. There it comes. Oh, wow. This might be a thrip, you know. This might be some form of thrip, but it's most likely an ant, I think. And if you're wondering what a thrip is, I'll try and find you one for sure shortly. But this might be a version thereof. Look at that. That is microscopic, everybody. There's no way for you to see that. You'd almost not be able to see that with your naked eye. You'll just see something moving around. There's no way you'd be able to see its little eyes and its little antenna going. There's no ways you'd be able to see the detail on the flower. Gosh, I mean, that is very special indeed. What are you and what are you doing in there? Are you alone? Do you have friends? And Kirsten's just spotted something further down. Around there. Oops. Yes, there it is. It's another one. I think it is a thrip, you know. It's a different kind of a thrip. There are over 4,500 species of thrip, as we discovered yesterday. 263 odd in this region. What thrip this? There are 4 thrips in the book. So, I mean, the chances of us identifying which of the 4,500 thrips these ones are, well, virtually negligible. There are 2 thrips in this flower, Fergus. Do you see that?
Oh, I think there might be a third thrip down there.
There are thrips abounding. Teeming herds of thrips streaming across the plains of this flower. I mean, I'm astounded. We're now going to go back to Byron. Please tell Byron that there is a teeming herd of thrips on this knotweed, and it's waiting for him in the tent.
Oh dear, Kirsten, I'm terribly sorry. I couldn't really copy what James said there. But anyway, I'm listening to some Francolins calling here. A cacophony of Francolins calling. And obviously they would have just stopped. There's obviously a little... I wonder if they're fighting or something around here. But they've just stopped. That's so not fair. Lots of what? Clips, sorry. Oh, thrips. James has lots of thrips in the tent for me when I come back one day. Thank you, James. Thank you very much. Who knows, maybe I'll make a surprise visit later. I can't see those Francolin. Oh, here's one of the Francolin running in the road. There it goes, the Crested Francolin. That's one of the birds that was making all that noise. That just went quiet as I pointed it out. Typical of the birds. Beautiful Crested Francolin though. Nice to see these little Francolins running around. I wonder, shall we call that Francolin Benjamin? Benjamin the Francolin. Oh, see what I did there, everyone. Very clever, very clever. Now, I've been driving through this area where we thought the wild dogs came into earlier today, but unfortunately you haven't found any sign of them, and I don't know if they're still around. It was so difficult. I mean, we were all driving around frantically trying to find these wild dogs, and no one had any luck. And that's the way it goes sometimes with wild dogs. Especially in these areas where it is a lot thicker. Now Brent is up in the Mara and he's got a new antelope to show us.
Hi guys, I was busy telling you about how a Grant's gazelle got its name, and fortunately I came across 2 boys with no girlfriends. Sorry for them, but of course they've started moving. You got them? Yeah. There we go. 2 beautiful male Grant's gazelles. Now you can see they're quite a bit bigger than the Tommies. I'm in such a 2 minds whether I prefer Tommies or Grants. I think I like Grants more. Now, like the Tommies, they're also named after a Scotsman. And he was more famous for he was more famous for actually being part of a larger expedition that was launched by Speke and Burton to find the source of the Nile, and he actually wrote a book on the botany of that trip. So he was also the first person, well, European. Lots of people knew about them far beforehand, but he was the first European to shoot and classify the Thompson's gazelle. The Grant's gazelle. He was also a military man, but there we go. They are absolutely gorgeous. Now, further south from here, towards the Tanzanian border, we did see bigger groups of them, and I'm hoping we're going to see a lot more of them as well. But it has just been the most spectacular day. We've been out. What time did we wake up? Under 5:30. We've been out and about since 5:30, and we're still wide awake. It's just so exciting being out here. Where are those? They're coming towards you. It's so elegant. The pole. Oh, they're going past the pole. What should we name the poles under?
Many words.
Xander says he would like to call the pole many words. I think none of them are fit for air. But yes, Bree, you're correct. Their horns are massive. I think that's what makes them quite spectacular. And they're very, very pale, and the coloration, I just really like it. They are exquisite. Look at that. And there's been quite a lot of cloud building today, so I think we might get some rain overnight or tomorrow, which is good news and keeps the wildebeest coming this way. Look at that. Now, where'd the topi go? Oh, there's some topi about here as well. Now, topi are a subspecies of Sesame, and the fastest running land antelope. Well, I suppose you don't get any flying or swimming antelopes, so the fastest antelope in Africa. Forward again. Oh, you've got them over there. Oh, Xander's on it. There we go. There you go, the topi. Now, they have really interesting displays, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to see some of it. Maybe later on today, as we carry on heading towards the north, the males will stand on termite mounds opposite each other and suddenly just decide to have a silly 5 minutes, and they'll take off at that incredibly fast speed and chase each other about. Vicky, oh Vicky. Vicky's wondering what happened with that baby buffalo last night. Vicky, we went back to that exact same spot this morning. We couldn't see any sign of sort of a kill, but with a buffalo of that size, there's a very good strong chance the hyenas would have taken it off into pieces. We could see the little herd that buffalo calf was part of, but I couldn't see that individual. They were quite far from the road in a really big muddy swamp. So I'm hoping now that it's got a bit warmer during the day, they might have moved out. We're not far. We're probably about 2 or 3 kilometers from where that excitement took place last night. So our plan is now we're heading north along the Mara River, and we've been way down south on the Tanzanian border, and we're going to go head back towards, see if we can find the Ngama Pride of Lions again. Now, in this area, we're always keeping a lookout for Scar, probably one of the most famous lions in the world. Now, he hadn't been seen for a while. Then I heard from one of the Ngama guides that he was actually seen 2 or 3 days ago, but looking really, really bad. Apparently he's very, very skinny, skins and bones, his hips are sticking out, but he is 13 or 14 years old, so that is not unusual. But I would still really, really love to see him. Hopefully he's in better condition than when he was last seen. Okay, let's continue on our East African adventure here from the Masai Triangle in Kenya. And aren't we lucky? We get to travel around 2 countries in one safari. Let's go back to Taylor on Djuma in South Africa.
We're just about to leave Djuma. We're about to head on towards Arathusa. And what I would like to do, though, before we even get there, is that most of you will remember very quickly this morning while we were chasing after the wild dogs, well, the thought of wild dogs, we'd found some female leopard tracks. So I want to go quickly past to the boundary of Triple M and Gowrie, Maine, and just have a look there and see if I can figure out where those tracks went. I'm not sure if they went into Hoffman's little Gowrie area, or if they actually turned back into Vuyatela and wasn't able to sort of, well, the ground was of course churned up by the amount of cars that were racing on through it, not just me. There were many racing cars this morning. And if we don't have any luck there, then we will turn on to Arathusa and we shall start our search and see what's happening on that side. Actually, that reminds me, let me put the radio on the right channel. We gotta go to channel 5. There we go. Now I'll be able to hopefully hear the updates if there are any. What do you think, David? Do you think we're gonna have luck with a leopard? Could be. We could indeed. Sometimes these roads are great to drive on, these boundary roads. They can definitely save you. And some days are really good, but other days I've come along here and you've seen absolutely nothing. And then all of a sudden you'll have a leopard step out on the road, or wild dogs crossing in front of you, which is always quite nice. But let's see. And there's also a little duiker and a little steenbok that hang around here. We might see them too. Oh my goodness, we're going to go across to James now. We're going to carry on searching for leopard tracks. He's still in the tent. I don't know if he's climbing a tree or not, but let's go and have a look.
No trees in the tent, Taylor. You've been in here before. You know there were no trees in the tent at all. In fact, it is a treeless environment. But what we have got here is a little grasshopper. Probably a form of Theracles. A young Theracles, perhaps. But let me show you what I found it on. Isn't it just amazing? It was on plumbago. Very beautiful flower, behind which I'm now hiding. Yes, and we will microscope all of this stuff, of course. But I just think that this special grasshopper, we've identified a lot of grasshoppers over the last few days, and I'm not entirely sure what this one is, but perhaps a form of Theracles. Now, let's put him underneath the microscope. Wait, Kirsten, wait. Yes, it's going to be a long wait. How cool is that? Unfortunately, the lighting is not fantastic. Let me try and change that slightly. There we go. Now, he's just sitting here. I think that he probably is a devourer of plumbago of some sort. But I'm not sure how or which part of the plant he eats. Just come back to me, Kirsten. I'm just going to try and fix the exposure by putting something behind him. Like me. Ah, there we go. That's much better. There we go. That's a lovely colour. Let's just move it around the front of him now. There we go. He's just cleaning his face because he now knows he's on television. And, oh wow, look at his mouth parts. This would be wonderful on television, I think. We're definitely going to have to try and do this. It's like he knows something's up. Oh, he's wonderful, isn't he great? Now that's a sort of chomping mechanism he has on the front of his face there. That's like his sort of mouth, his teeth. And I think that sort of plate that comes down sort of centrally there is probably like a great big tooth that he uses to chomp away, to scrape away. They will eat along the edge of a leaf, and that will scrape off bits of leaf. And then with those other bits, he will scrape them into his mouth and down into his belly. And look at his little feelers. Yes, and Daniel, of course, the obvious thing to say here is, what big eyes you have. Well, indeed, he does have big eyes. He's not a predator, though, so they're not very much there to see you better, Daniel, but to see the things that are going to come and eat him. And Daniel, I'm going to assume that you do not eat these things. And our Laura Moore, this is something that I've started to notice as well. You say that he's got short antennae. I think that you find our Laura Moore that most grasshoppers have got short antennae. Most locusts, they don't seem to have the long antenna. They always look outlandishly small, though, don't they? They look like they've been sort of chopped off by mistake. And this guy is now cleaning his foot with his mouth. I hope that he's washed his feet, because that can be very unhealthy. One doesn't like to lick one's own toes. It's a little bit disgusting. Let's just have a look at his amazing back legs. Sorry, bit of trouble with the focus. Let's just do that. Look at that. And those, of course, the instruments with which he attracts his ladies. Now this is a young grasshopper, and I know that because his wings are not developed properly yet, and so although he's got those spines on his back legs, he won't be doing a huge amount of violin playing or stridulating. And James, I think probably to a certain extent, you say, are those hairs on the back legs there for sensory purpose? Yes, I think they probably are. There you can see them there. I suspect they are. I'm not sure how sensitive they are, but I imagine they probably are there for sensory purposes. Then I wanted to show you, see how you can see him, it's either his little rudimentary heart beating or his digestive tract that is doing some work there. You can see that. Let's go back to his face. I think this creature could easily pose for very gorgeous sort of photographs put on your wall, especially with my hairs sticking out the top right hand side of the picture. Very nice. Right, well, I think we'll put him back on his plant now. I think that was very cool. And then let's put him on here. Well, let's look at here first. Polly, you said something about the eyes. What was that? Oh, do they do anything, the colours in his eyes? I don't know. I imagine they must have some function. I think probably what they do is avoid reflecting too much light, so he's quite difficult to see for his potential predators, which would almost certainly be birds. Or lizards would eat him, certainly. A grasshopper like this without any form of defensive mechanism would, I suspect, be sort of fair game and easy prey for any number of animals. Okay, let's see. Oh dear. Having trouble with my microscope today, sorry Ferg. It seems that I have trouble with my microscope every day, doesn't it, Kirsten? She says it does, obviously. Still having trouble. There we are. Now those are those sticky bits of the plumbago seed. The flowers will eventually all form seeds like that, and they will then stick to whatever walks past them and disappear and eventually plant themselves somewhere else. And that's the plumbago seed. And I just want to show you one more spectacular thing over here. We can come back to me here, Kirsten. Byron is currently with some Nyala, and I just want to show you that if you eat green, you will produce green. Very nice. You see that, Kirsten? Gorgeous. Let's go across to Byron.
We're sitting with a group of female Inyala. There are some youngsters with them. Beautiful antelope. They're one of my favorite. I love seeing them. It's amazing how different the females look compared to the males. Now there is a male that was moving up ahead. We'll see if we can find him too. But for now I can't see him. He's just moved into the thicket. There was one male around, but just a group of females. I think this morning we saw a number of males together. And that's not unusual for a lot of the antelope species. The females and the young stay together, and the males form little bachelor herds. Every now and then you'll get one or two males following a group. Or following a group of females, I should say. Let's see if we can have a look for that male quickly. It's just up ahead. See if he's still around. Nice to see those females though. Those beautiful white markings on that reddish brown coat. And the male looks completely different. Let's see if we can find him. There he is. He's just behind the bush. No, don't run. Wait, we'll see him shortly. Will we? There he goes. Hang on, let me roll forward a little bit. Let me stop there. There we go. See, now look how different that male is compared to those females. Much darker coat, still those prominent white stripes, but often people see them, and if they haven't seen them before, they think they're different species because they do look so different. This is just the male. Oh, look at that beautiful light on his face now. You can see that chevron. That's that white marking between the eyes. You could see that clearly. Lovely. Yeah. There we go. Look at that. Yes. That's very beautiful. I wouldn't be surprised if he's slowly just following those females. Doesn't look like a particularly large bull. He will get bigger. We have seen a number of bull Inyala around that are much larger. Larry, I'm not sure. You asked what is the purpose of the male and female looking so different. So I don't know what the reason for the color difference is. For the mane on the back of the male Inyala, the reason for that, and obviously the big horns, is when they do challenge one another, the males, they'll arch their back, they cause that hair to stand up. They obviously use their horns. The sharp horns will be used to fight, but that display of the hair on the back is all to intimidate another male so that they can hopefully gain dominance over the other male and potentially mate with females. I'm not sure what the exact reason is for the color difference, however. I think it's just the way they've evolved for the males to look perhaps a bit more attractive, that darker coat. Maybe it helps him with camouflage a little bit. I don't know, Larry. I'm not sure at all. But look at those big ears. You see how if they hear something, they fix those ears in the direction, and the kudu do the same. They often move around in similar habitats, thick areas. They'll rely a lot on those big ears to listen out for predators. Lovely. Now, oh dear. So, VT, you asked if there are any good myths or legends about the Nyala. And I'm trying to think. No, not that I know of. If I'm not mistaken, I think Inyala, and maybe James will help us with this. I think Inyala is a Zulu word. It's obviously maybe a variation of the Zulu word, but I think it means onion. I stand to correction, but we'll double check. I think it means onion, and it's because of those white stripes apparently on the body. So they refer to, well, the name is onion. Now, I am in a bit of a predicament here at the moment, because let me show you something. So this is our car, which doesn't want to start. So I might have to get out and try push this vehicle quickly and see if I can jump start it. This is going to be interesting and fun. Let's head to Taylor. Hopefully she's moving around.
Oh no! Are the roles reversed Is Byron the damsel in distress? Byron, do you need rescuing? Very, very funny, of course, that happened to Byron. But I wish him luck, and I'm sure that he'll manage to make a plan and get himself out. Oh, roadrunners. Not really roadrunners. They were Crested Francolins. Where are you? Hello. Don't run away. I would like to show everyone. Oh, they're so sneaky. I don't know if we'll get a view of them. Oh, well done, David. You're so quick. Beautiful Crested Francolin. How lovely is that with all the afternoon sunlight shining on it? Now, panicked, as you can see. This is not a relaxed Crested Francolin, just by the movement of its body. I think it's wondering if we can see it or not. Sort of like what we experienced with the Vervet monkeys earlier on. Calming down a little bit, but just watching over its shoulder. No, not quite confident, heading towards the longer grass. And that's what they will do if they are spooked, is run into thicker vegetation like that where they completely disappear. And again, we've been talking a lot about camouflage today. It is vital for the importance of an animal's survival. And there's 2 of them here. There might actually even be more, because I did hear some rustling in the long grass. Perhaps this pair have got some chicks, and that's maybe why they are a little bit on the nervous side. But now they have disappeared. So we're on Arathusa. We've finally managed to get here. Now we're bumbling about. We're going to head towards Red Dam first and check there. And then from there, I think then we'll go all the way down this western boundary to the south, to the southern boundary, and then hopefully stop for our sunset at the airstrip, at the Arathusa airstrip. That will be the goal. Oh, hello, doves. Let's see if... No, they're flying. I was hoping they were going to sit down in the knobthorn. But they didn't. There was a pair of Cape turtle doves, or ringneck doves, flying off. Now, just a reminder, of course, we are practicing adverts, so we're going to be doing one in a little bit. But let's see what else we can find out here on safari. Maybe a couple more birds. I think we could maybe focus on some birds. As we get to, of course, Red Dam, there's definitely a possibility of us spotting some water birds to have a look at. So I'll keep my eyes open once we get there. Now, we're going to be heading off for a short break now. Don't go away. Who knows what could happen next? Brent is in Kenya. Are we going to have another fun, exciting scene with hyenas versus buffalo? There we go. We are back. Right. Let's carry on. David, we're actually not too far from Red Dam at all. Let's try and have a look. I think we're about to go past the little pump house, and then it's only about another 50 or 60 meters. No, we're not. We're quite far away. I got excited when I saw all the soft sand. But it is not anywhere near Red Dam. We're still going to carry on. It seems as though Byron has managed to get himself unstuck, and he's found, well, more antelope other than Inyala.
Look at this, a beautiful kudu. So the big cousin to the Nyala. Have a look at those horns. Just look at this, everyone. Huge, huge set of horns on this big male kudu. Look at that spiral, those white tips. It's beautiful. Now, it's a male, and there is a young male at the back. Yep, there's a young male moving through the back. Oh, this is really, really great and quite relaxed with us. He looks, I must be honest, he looks like an old bull. Just judging by his body, his size, he does look like an old bull. And you see how they browse. So they feed off the leaves of trees. And it's amazing how they're able to move through these thick areas with those long spiral horns. But what happens is they tilt their head back, and those horns go straight down the back, and they're able to move through the thickets. Tigs, now I'm trying to think. You asked how heavy would the horns of the males be. I mean, they're not light. I'm trying to think. It's probably around, I would say, big horns like that. Maybe 2 or 3 kilograms, maybe. What do you think, Sebastian?
How much did you say?
2 or 3 kilograms.
Those horns?
Yeah.
No, I'd say more.
You think more?
I'd say a couple more.
Maybe 5 or 6 kilograms. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, maybe 5 or 6 kilograms, a bit more. Especially horns that size. Yeah, I've never felt the horns by themselves. So usually I have felt a skull of a kudu, which is quite heavy with the horns.
Yeah, that's also true there.
So, but yeah, maybe between 3 and 5, so somewhere around there, Tiggs. Annabella, age 6. Hello, Annabella. And you've asked a very interesting question, and I'm glad you've asked it because you've obviously been paying attention to all of the other comments that we make. And you asked, do the antelope, like the kudu, also throw up in their mouths? Now, you're 100% right. You asked like the buffalo. They do, Annabella. So what happens is, they are called ruminants. So just like the buffalo, their stomach has 4 chambers. So what happens when they're feeding? They eat the food, they swallow it, it goes into the first chamber of the stomach, it mixes with all their digestive enzymes in the stomach, and they then regurgitate, or like you say, throw up again. And they regurgitate the food back into their mouth, and they re-chew it. So it's mixed with all those enzymes. They re-chew the food to break it down even more. And then they swallow it again, and it then goes into that first chamber and then passes through the other chambers of the stomach. So their digestive system is very efficient. They can absorb and digest as much of the nutrients from the food as they possibly can. So they do indeed, Annabella. They do, just like the buffalo. You're 100% right. So it is interesting behavior, and that is known as a ruminant. That is what a ruminant is because of that digestive system. Now, I'm going to have to try start my car again. Do you want to see how we do that now? Alright, well, we're going to quickly link to Taylor, who's got another hippo in the water, while I try to get the car started.
We have indeed got another hippo, and it's a hippo that I have not seen for a very long time in Red Dam. I don't know when I was last here, but I think when we last arrived it was quite empty. But definitely some water. It's not particularly deep, because every now and then we can still see that hippo, and of course his back is raised quite far out of the water. But Red Dam has never been very deep ever since I've been working here. It has definitely dried out a substantial amount since I was last here, and it looks to be a big hippo bull all on his own. Now, Jason from Sri Lanka, you have asked me this afternoon if I have ever seen an albino hippo. I have not, and I think that would be the most unfortunate kind of hippo, because they have the most sensitive skin as it is. So it's quite nice that they've got all that dark pigmentation on them, because they're quite susceptible to sunburn, and of course they are producing hipposudoric acid or blood sweat, which is the oily substance that they secrete, which helps, of course, keep their skin nice and moist. It also sort of protects them from the sun with a mild sunblock, and of course it has an antiseptic too. So Jason, I think finding an albino hippo, that would be really terrible, and I don't know if they would do very well out in the bush. They are in the sun almost 24/7, even though they are in the water to try and keep them nice and cool. The African sun is harsh, and it would beat down on them, and I can only imagine that they would get severely sunburned. So I hope that that never happens. I don't know if there's ever been a recorded case of an albino hippo in South Africa. I can't remember ever reading about it. Now you can hear one bird making a big noise. Now it's not this little guy. This is the little 3-banded plover. one of the regular, of course, members of Red Dam. And then there was also a blacksmith lapwing that was making a noise. And David, there's actually a blacksmith lapwing and a little 3-banded plover standing together. There they are. So now you can see the size difference. Look at that. And those are fully grown 3-banded plovers too. It's not a baby. It's not a chick of this black and white bird on the right. So blacksmith lapwing on the right. That was the one making all of that noise, in case you could hear it. They're quite territorial. Though, so are the little 3-banded plovers. I've watched them chase away thickneys before. So they're all competing for the best spot at the dam, and they'll be searching for insects, and they'll also, both species will lay their eggs close by too. But aren't they cool?